Welcome back, everybody. It is episode 3 of Inside the Pack, and we are continuing our coverage of the 2026 Erie SeaWolves baseball season. I am your host, Mike Fenner. I've got a special guest for you on today's episode, the Director of Food and Beverage here at the Erie SeaWolves, Mr. Matt Turner. Matt, thanks so much for joining us, and looking forward to a great conversation.
Yeah, super appreciative of you having me here and kind of painting the picture of like what it's like to do things behind the scenes for the baseball team and to get things rolling. So yeah, excited to be here and to answer all these questions for sure.
Let's start here. How does one get into this industry, into this line of work? How did you? Tell me your journey about getting into this line of work and into the SeaWolves organization.
Yeah, so journey from Erie, born and raised, and worked in a plethora of different restaurants. And for me personally, it's luck of the draw. I happened to be working at the Erie Club with someone who was a sister of a ticket guy who knew the food and beverage guy who needed all the help in the world coming out of COVID, right?
Yeah.
And so she recommended kind of come over part-time. My predecessor, so I was hired as the assistant director of food and beverage.
Okay.
And
what year was that?
that would have been 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the woman who was in my position prior to me was moving on, and he had heard about me. We had briefly met, and it was pretty quick from there. And so, kind of luck of the draw, kind of right place, right time. From that, it was what a change of pace when you go from managing things at the Erie Club in a suit and tie and coming over here to the baseball world with hot dogs and beer and the craziness that all ensues. So,
what did you learn the most when you first took the assistant job, joined the organization here in 2021? What were the things that you learned quickly, and what were the biggest differences, to your point?
Yeah, major differences quickly were like the staff that it takes to run an operation like this. We have a revolving door of about 90 people, and on any given game day, we're staffing anywhere from 40 to 60 to maybe 70 when John Oliver drops moon mammoths on us, right? So having a staff that I was entirely in charge of scheduling and making sure that we have on any given day 15 to 17 different vendors that we're opening up for the fans. And so that was the biggest change of pace, because most of the other places I've worked, either I wasn't doing the scheduling, or when I was, it was a pretty small, tight-knit staff. So just everything about the daunting landscape of what UPMC Park can be when you run out of beer in right field and your only keg is in left field. And that kind of stuff was eye-opening quickly, and the amount of steps you might take throughout baseball games. That was probably the most physically surprising for sure.
What are the things you like about the interpersonal relationships of the staff you get to work with here, and also the vendors and just the people that you work with directly one-on-one throughout a given day, throughout a given week, and throughout a season?
Yeah, so staff specifically, we hire everywhere from 15-year-old kids, and it's their first job, to all the way to, for the longest time, you probably know Smith Shack Joe, who was a retiree, 70-something-year-old man. So, and everything in between. And so you get to, my experience is incredibly unique, where the 15-year-old kid needs something entirely different from a management perspective than the person who's working a day job in here just to have some fun and make some extra money. Sure. And so I very much enjoy having to navigate through that. And I really like being, the first job for a lot of these kids and getting to know that I'm the one that's going to be their first boss. I take a lot of pride in that. And so that's what I take to the bank for sure. The fans, I've grown to love them, and now everybody on a first name basis, because they're always in the same spot and they're always here and excited and cheering it on. So I look forward to just seeing them year in and year out and finding out what's new in their lives.
We spoke with team president Greg Coleman in our last episode, and he always talks about the fan experience being the number one thing.
Yeah.
In your role and in what you guys do as a staff, what is it that makes the game day experience special, unique, and meaningful, maybe from what you guys do?
Yeah, so from the food and beverage perspective, a lot of surveys show that outside of just cost of tickets and how the team is playing, it ranks up there as number 2. Number 3 is most important when a fan comes to a ball game. So we take a lot of pride in knowing that what we strive for is efficiency and quality, and where do those things meet when you're trying, like today's Thursday, we were just talking about this, and we might have rain, we might not, we might have thousands of people, we might not, we have to have $2 hot dogs ready. And so always trying to hit that mark to make sure people are getting through the lines quickly, back to their seat, enjoying the baseball, and when they're there, it's a pleasant experience. We've added some things to try to make that a little bit more tolerable too when you are stuck in those long lines. We added some TVs above our concession stand, so you'll have a broadcast of the game that at least gives you an opportunity to stay in tune with the action while you are waiting for your food.
What are the biggest things that may come across your desk or just come across your day-to-day that might be a curveball, or might be something where you're like, wow, okay, now we have to adapt, we have to adjust? because we all have that in our day-to-day lives and our jobs, right? I mean, what are the things that you find that you found that might be big challenges or hurdles or things that you're like, okay, now we have to adapt a little bit or overcome or compromise or something like that?
Yeah, and so the mammoth in the room is like when that happens last season with John Oliver dropping the moon mammoths on us and having like 6 weeks to figure out how are we going to actually pump probably the most people in UPMC Park history through these lines and give them a new product, which ended up being pepperoni balls that we dyed purple, or mammoth ears with blue moon ice cream. And so the one that is year in and year out, you know, you can't always rely on a national network dropping something like that on you, but we have the education days that are twice a year. And they are so much different than what we do on any regular game, in that we pack the place with kids from all over the county and the really kind of like the New York, Ohio-ish, even you know, closer to us region. And we have to feed all these kids in a matter of like 20 minutes. It's obviously vastly different when you have thousands of kids screaming and getting excited versus, you know, even when we have a packed house full of just like adult fans and a mix, right? And so trying to plan for how do you do that while still having your season ticket holders that are here, that are expecting to be able to get some of those things that they're used to. That's a challenging thing to do for sure, and it's year in and year out. And every year we tweak it just a little bit to try to make it, you know, a more pleasant experience.
Who are the people you lean on when you need advice or you need, you know, an ear, and you just have to get a second opinion on something? Who are the people that you reach out to and talk to when you're thinking, okay, how do we go about this? What's the best way to execute this plan?
Yeah, so there's a few that come to mind pretty quickly. Obviously, Greg Coleman's an incredible asset, talking about a guy that has won minor league executive of the year, right? Yep. So we're talking about a guy that's been around the block and knows what he's doing. So lean on him tremendously. The staff that I have here now from a management perspective in Happy Howler, that's the name of our food and beverage company, Happy Howler, Barbie Grande and Noah Oros. Those are a couple of people that pretty recently have had to step into an elevated role. We had the departure of the longtime food and beverage director while I was the assistant, Jeff Burgess, during the off season. And so we all have kind of had to take on more as the off season progressed, and now right into the beginning of the season. And then I mentioned Jeff, but he's the one that to this day, great relationship, and was here for so long and had such a hand in making this place what it is now, that he's absolutely somebody that I still lean on for advice and with questions.
How rewarding of a job and a career is this for you, and what are some of the victories, if you want to call it that? I mean, we all experience that in our lines of work. What are the things that you feel proud of? So
super rewarding. It's so different day in and day out that personally, that's what I need to like really stay captivated. Things that become kind of, you know, the same day in and day out really become kind of boring to me, right? And it's almost impossible for that to be the case here.
Yeah, the things that are what are the most rewarding things you find in this career, and what are the big victories you feel like you kind of celebrate?
Yep, and so small ones, like and I don't know if I call it a small one, but we touched on the amount of pride that I take in being that first employer for some of these younger kids, and knowing what we're setting them hopefully up for as they progress through high school and then college and life. I take a lot of pride in knowing that from the day I started in 2021, we regularly retain 85 to 90% of our staff. And so there's a lot of familiar faces, and that means we're creating something of a good culture, something that people want to continue to come back to and work hard. That's probably what I definitely am the most proud of and am excited to talk about for sure.
What is it like just in general working for a minor league baseball team, and just what's that like? Because not a lot of people can say that. Not a lot of people have that experience. Yeah, what is it like from your perspective?
Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, you think about like my arrival also coincides with Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green and Kerry Carpenter, and some of these guys were here, and we maybe didn't have the success on the field. But then you get to tune in October and you see 3 of these dudes round in against the Guardians, sliding into home, and it's like SeaWolves, 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 and that's incredible, right? Yeah. From there, then you have some guys that maybe I didn't know about coming in, but you got like the Colt Keats of the world. And I don't even want to start to try to name and leave guys out, but the point is, we ride a magical 4 straight years. They like kind of feels like I must have been a big part of, because it did coincide with my arrival, right?
Love that.
You lose one, you win 2, you lose 1, and that is like, I am a sports fan already coming into this. That gives me like goosebumps, right? Like that kind of stuff is very cool, albeit at the minor league level, and definitely the thing that I find the most exhilarating for sure.
We're here on Inside the Pack, episode 3, and we were joined by Matt Turner, the Director of Food and Beverage here on our third episode of the podcast. Okay, so you touched on it earlier. I want to kind of dive into it. $2 Thursday.
Yeah.
That's the big night, obviously, during a 6-game homestand on average. Obviously, there's big promotions, but that's always the staple. Just walk me through, what is that day like from start to finish? We don't have to, I'm interested to know what the preparation is like.
Yeah.
Because that's not easy to pull off. You're always going to have a great draw, especially when the weather is beautiful here in Erie, Pennsylvania during a June, July, August, September, Thursday evening. What goes into that?
It starts with trying to get as many of that 90% staff as we have working so we can open up as many possible vendors as possible so people can maybe move through a little bit more efficiently. Today's maybe not the greatest example because of the rain and that, but let's just say it's a sunny day. We start bringing people in to produce things somewhere around noon 1, right? And so from the very beginning, we're starting to produce and starting to get things to places so when people are arriving right away, it's a seamless process. There's been this trend lately where, and you probably saw it, Toronto, and we're probably never going to do 100,000 hot dogs, but we've done 7 to, I think our most was maybe like 9 to 10,000. That felt like 100,000.
That's still a lot.
Yeah, it's wild, right?
In one day.
Yeah, you have people that are taking like drink cup carriers full of hot dogs, and we love it. We do. It's an awesome thing to do for the area. Notoriously, the stadium experience can be a little frightening for the pocketbook, and we love that that's a day where it's like, hey, it's not going to be. You're going to have a great time, and you're going to get hot dogs, beer. From another side, the beer is a big part of it too, obviously. For the adult crowd, $2 on that. And it's making sure you have all your kegs in order and backing things up so that when they inevitably blow, the guys are ready to just twist and burn, So a lot of preparation that goes into it from a staffing standpoint, from a production standpoint. You asked about curveballs earlier, and today's a good example with the rain and that. That's the kind of curveball that you have to be ready for when you're working outside. But we're able to hit those pitches for sure.
How nice is it to see the fan reaction on a $2 Thursday? I mean, any game in general, but just how pumped people are to come through the gates and they're like, all right, here we go. And to have a great experience, a great night. Again, like you said, family, fun, affordable.
Yes.
What can you say about that?
Yeah, and so that's what we strive for. Obviously, it's part of our motto, part of our mantra here with Erie SeaWolves, but seeing the people that, they're coming, it's almost 100% smiles on their faces, and then you have the people that have their t-shirt with glizzy and they're ready to count up those and they're ready to count up what they're drinking, and you always end up seeing what was trendy a couple years, the snake, the cups with the snakes, and it's just it's a playful, exuberant environment. And when the team wins and the crowd's rocking, it's like after a few $2 beers, it makes it just that much more loud and exciting, and you never know what you're going to see, I guess.
What have been your kind of your favorite promotions to see, be a part of? Of course, the Moon Mammoth comes to mind first, but what are also some of the things, even like upcoming with this season, that you're looking forward to seeing the crowd reaction, the fan response? And you can't always have something as big as the Moon Mammoth night, right? But still, I mean, a lot of fun nights on the calendar and such a fun season coming up.
Absolutely. The one that I look out for year in and year out is the Piñatas, the Copa de la Diversión. My wife is Puerto Rican, got a ton of family in the Hispanic community.
Nice.
That near and dear to the heart, right?
That's awesome.
So I love that for sure. The random things that you would be surprised about, and I'm trying to think of something really good and specific that I don't have currently right now, but man, like Star Wars night, when you see stormtroopers patrolling around, and anybody that's in full car, when we do Mascot Mania, that's one that comes to mind where I didn't expect it to I really didn't think it was going to be that great. And then when you see all those mascots make all these kids happy and doing choreographed dances on the dugout, and it's like, this is what it's about, right? And so that's one of those ones that probably exceeded my expectations.
What's something or some things that fans might not know about maybe your job title, responsibilities, things that from a day-to-day, week-to-week standpoint that they would be like, wow, I didn't know all that goes into that, or all that really, you talked a lot about the preparation, but what, is there anything that might really surprise some folks?
Yes, like on the eccentric side, it's like in the off season, we get to have some more freedom to express ourselves and have fun. And we did a holiday happy hour with, we created a character called Martha Stewart, where I had just seen a Netflix or some documentary about Martha Stewart, and it was like, this woman's amazing, and they wanted to do this, and that's like kind of the character I tried to portray. And so you get to be goofy and have fun and do things that aren't as like, we got to prepare 1 million hot dogs and stack beer kegs and, make these people go through lines. So you've seen me, Moon Mammoth, I'm wearing a bright purple suit and sparkly shoes. Opening day, I'd have to wear my bright red shoes. So the fun that we get to have in addition to the hard work is probably something people don't necessarily know. The amount of tasks that you think director of food and beverage, and there's a lot that is very, highbrow. We're controlling an entire business. It's, tons of revenue, all that. But there are days where we're lightly staffed and kegs need moved. I'll move the kegs, right? I mean, if I got to wrap hot dogs on a Thursday, I'm doing that. And I think at the minor league level, that's probably much more existent than as you progress up to the professional sports leagues.
Sure.
So that's maybe something people don't realize as well, and a way to kind of like toot my own horn, let them know I'm still out there working hard.
That's right.
Yeah.
How strong are the relationships, friendships that you've built and maintained within this organization and the people that work in the various different departments? It seems obvious to people like us in the media that spend a lot of time around you spend a lot of time around the team and around the organization, but talk about some of those friendships, those bonds, because obviously it's a huge time commitment. It's a very time consuming line of work, especially in the season.
Yep.
How important is it to have those great bonds and the close friendships and relationships as you're working?
Incredibly important. Just in my department, I employ just pretty much to be able to see them, my son, my wife, both of my parents, my brother-in-law, and so they all work for me part-time, and so I can like pop in and make sure that it's like, hello, So, because in baseball season, it is crazy. We pump a ton of hours. From a interdepartmental standpoint, we're super tight-knit and close. We're a small staff of, at any given time, somewhere between 12 and 15. I lose track. But Jason Doherty is the director of entertainment. He was the photographer at my wedding. We play pickup basketball together in video games. Lena Vanek, the director of marketing, babysat my kids and went over to my house and watched my cat when I'm on vacation. And as you progress through the line, it's like we're so close and know so much about each other that it has become very much a second family and makes it more comfortable to have to spend a little bit more time away from home in the summer.
You talked about some of the players that have come through here and obviously gone on to the bigs. What is that like, just to be a part of the club and see and be able to really be side by side with and next to and seeing some of these guys that make it big? I mean, that's got to be pretty awesome.
It's awesome. Prior to being here, I don't really think I knew how awesome it was going to be. And one of my first homestands working, O'Neal Cruz was the shortstop for the Altoona Curve. I watched him jump probably 5 feet off the ground to snag a line drive, and it was like, holy smokes. And then I think it was the next year I saw him playing, and right now you know what he's doing outside of maybe a bad opening day with center field. It's like he is raking, and I watched that guy from 15 feet away.
Yeah.
And it's story after story of that. Here you are so close, and you have such a personal feeling with these people that then when you get to see, like I said about the playoffs that time, you feel like you know these people to an extent, right? And then there's some perks about being in the inner workings of the front office, where when we win championships, or even unfortunately when we lose, the team will come up to the club by synchrony here, and we get to have conversations with them that are things that invaluable, man. Things that if you're a sports fan, that kind of stuff is priceless for sure.
Speaking of, I was just about to ask you, sitting here, this beautiful part of the venue here, part of the ballpark, the club by synchrony, what can you say about how much this benefits the club, benefits the fan experience, and also helps with what you guys do from a day-to-day standpoint?
Yeah, so also coincides with my arrival. So I'd like to take credit for this space as well. I'm just kidding. What a space, it's a gem of downtown Erie, a place that for a baseball game, nothing beats it. You have the access to a bar, full service kitchen, your restrooms are indoors. This door behind us opens up, and so maybe not today because of the rain, but on a beautiful day, it's nice up here, right?
Yeah.
Outside of baseball games, we're open year-round for events, so we've already done a wedding, we do multiple business meetings, and really anything you could think of in this space, and it's allowed us to operate on a year-round basis as opposed to just being a seasonal baseball team. The sponsorship with Synchrony came into place last year, and so you've already you can kind of see the signs and just the little bit of things that have started to spruce it up from out in the ballpark perspective. It just looks big time, and so we're here now in a minor league AA facility with an event space that rivals anywhere else in the country. So very, very cool.
Yeah, what does that say about just the commitment to serving the fan and to serving the community, the way that some of these upgrades have come along? You've seen stuff on the field, you've seen stuff here, inside and out of the ballpark. What does it say just about the commitment to serving the fans here?
Yeah, and if you think back, it was right prior to my arrival, there was some turmoil in minor league baseball, and maybe a thought about, oh no, is you're going to have a team? And we had to make some pretty strong commitments to be able to retain the team. And I don't pretend to know it all, but from what I understand, And then I've got to see them all come to fruition, from the lights that are absolutely incredible now that I didn't even know would be that great of an upgrade until you see somebody hit a home run and they're doing that reel, and it's like, wow.
Really
incredible.
cool.
Yeah, very, very cool. Things that fans maybe will never see, like the clubhouse redesign and things in the weight room, and just getting things to be at a more upper echelon for these players that are 2 steps away from rounding third in the playoffs, right? Yeah, it means everything, and the fan experience is what drives it and what will hopefully continue to keep baseball in Erie for, forever.
What are the things you have a vision for, a passion for when it comes to your job and to what you guys want to do and try to make things even better? I know we're always trying to push the envelope, or what can we do next? How can we do? What are the things you think about, or have the vision about, or have those discussions about with your staff and otherwise?
Yep, we in the short term, it's always what are spaces that are underutilized and how can we start to maybe move fans to there, which inevitably will make other places more palatable from a line, all those type of things. How can we innovate from a menu? How can we maybe offer a different type of stand that doesn't already exist? Souvenir items are things that we think about pretty often, whether it's do we get a souvenir helmet for your ice cream, or do we get a beer bat or a popcorn bucket? This year, being that it was a transition from my predecessor Jeff to me, we kind of went with the attack of let's do what we do very, very well and effectively, and throughout the year there'll be some surprises that pop up. One pretty quickly in the middle of May, we have a new vendor that I probably won't say yet, but there'll be something out there near the picnic area that I think a lot of people are going to be very excited about, and so that's kind of the stuff that right now is spinning in my head. And yeah, how do we keep doing what we always do very, very effectively, and just continue to add little pieces to make the fans experience a little bit more fun.
Any maybe fun or funny type stories, just within your day-to-day where it's like, oh man,
Yeah. I think there's a million, but I laugh because it's like Jeff and I used to joke a lot about how, you go home and you might have a wife or a husband that tells you about their day, and they might have had a crazy meeting and this, and we're like, they ask how our day went. It's like, well, we had to make sure the t-shirt gun was working so we could shoot hot dogs up to 202 next week, and it's there's stuff like that comes to mind immediately. I put a unicorn inflatable suit on for, I believe it was Unicorn Day, and they had a horse that was in a trailer in the parking lot, and it saw me after being just a normal horse, and it stomped and made its noise at me, and it was like it's like, oh my goodness. So that's one of those that quickly comes to mind too, for sure. And then, oh man, just the things, and when you employ people, like I said, from the very beginning of their career all the way to probably the very end, the amount of variation of things that you hear is just like probably not suitable for this show, but absolutely hilarious, and things that make me laugh day in and day out.
Kind of to that point, how is it to work with so many different people with different and varying personalities?
Yeah.
And just, the way that those kind of match up?
Yeah, I mean, I do love it. I'd be lying if I said I loved it 100% of the time. There's days where it's like, holy smokes, it's a lot to handle, right?
Yeah.
But it's a situation that I very much enjoy handling, and try to take the very minimal of bad with a grain of salt, knowing all the good that they bring to the table.
What are the biggest differences from regular season baseball to the postseason? Obviously, we've been very fortunate here in Erie the last 4 falls to have playoff baseball, which included trips to the championship series and a pair of Eastern League crowns. So obviously some big draws, some big crowds. What's the atmosphere of that like on a game day? How much different is it from a regular, a Saturday in July versus playoff baseball in September? What are the biggest differences?
Yeah.
How much fun is that?
Yeah. So much fun, so incredibly exhilarating for sure. From a differences standpoint, it's like a Saturday in July. We know that Saturday in July is coming. You don't know if granted, we won the first half, and so you do know there's going to be some game dates, but even that, you might lose game 1 on the road, you might not have game 3. You'll know if you have game 3 at about 10:30 p.m. before the next day where you have game 3.
Right.
So it's like, I joked, the first year we made it, it was like, I felt like Jerry Maguire, just phones and emails and who can work, who can blah, 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 right? We've gotten better at understanding like what's to come when you go 4 straight years, right? And so it's exciting, it's amazing. Our staff is fantastic and come with an energy that matches what's happening out with the fans. And so it's been a really, really cool ride for sure. And unbelievable from our standpoint to be able to try to come up with new items or for me, I really do enjoy the chaotic nature of having to figure out how do we do this on short notice and not necessarily knowing exactly what's happening. So it's cool.
What goes into those meetings, those discussions about the desirable, the food items, the drink specials, the things that are new that you can offer fans? What goes into the collaboration of figuring out how do we draw more people in with this particular item or this particular special? What's that like?
It's a collaborative effort for sure. It starts in the off season. We have right after the season ends, we typically meet as a executive staff for a couple of days and talk about what worked, what didn't, what's to come, and there's always a portion of that revolves with food and beverage, and it starts with ideas that we bring to the table, and then inevitably, it's never just been like, here's the idea we have, let's do it. It's always like somebody says this, and then somebody says that, and somebody points out there, and next thing you know, it's like we start having an idea that's coming to fruition. So super collaborative. Things that get dropped on you quickly, like last year with Moon Mammoth, it was much less collaborative because of just like the time frame. Lena didn't have time to think about what I was going to put in my cocktail because she was worried about what's the costume that look like, right? And so in those moments, it's a lot of Googling and looking up things on the internet and figuring out how can I dye things purple without using Kool-Aid packets, and you know what I mean? And so like that kind of crazy stuff for sure.
How much fun is that though, the creative aspects, to your point, like everyone having those different creative ideas and trying to work together that way? How much fun is that, and how enjoyable is that to have that side of it where you can sit and be like, what would people like? What would people think is going to be pretty neat to try out?
10 out of 10. It's incredibly enjoyable. This is the first job I've ever had where I have that level of freedom and control and can kind of put my stamp down on things. And nobody bats 1,000, so it's not as enjoyable when you come up with something and you see someone maybe not love it. It's like that goes in the garbage can quickly. We're batting a strong percentage. I'd put us in the Hall of Fame of coming up with ideas, and so that is like, man, it's awesome. It's what it's all about. You see people eating the purple pepperoni balls, or you see people when they go to this new vendor that's going to be out in May. Very much looking forward to it.
What are the things that you think have had that success, that staying power, or just like something that you thought, man, that really turned out pretty cool?
Yeah, so I mean, anybody that's from out of town that has a pepperoni ball for the first time, that still makes me laugh because it's just, are you from here or no?
Oh yeah.
Okay, and so it's like they're pepperoni balls, dude. Everybody sells them for fundraisers and all this throughout your life, and they look at it like it came from a spaceship, and so that's always very enjoyable. Some of the people that try things like the Rocket Dog and get to learn that that's named from Mojo from Rocket 101 back in the, and so there's things like that are incredibly enjoyable.
All right, I gotta be honest. Did you like the cotton candy hot dog? Like, I'm sure you've had it obviously by now, right?
Yeah, so we definitely had to give it a go. I mean, no. No, right?
He's not gonna lie to us.
I don't know. I don't know. It's not for me, right?
It's quite a novelty.
What was it? It was pre my arrival, so I won't take credit for that one. But the gentleman that did also has a tattoo of it on his calf. So if you ever see a man with the cotton candy
hot dog
on the tattoo or on the calf,
was the cotton candy?
Yeah, and then so it was the cotton candy, Smith's hot dog, and like a Nerds rope, the candy, and that was kind of like the condiment. And so it was successful because I believe it was Jimmy Kimmel. It went on. When you go viral like that,
it might have been
whether
Fallon.
I want to taste it or not.
One of the late night shows,
the equation there. It's like you're gonna roll with something like that for sure.
Still can't get over that. That was pretty interesting. Just any final thoughts just about what you want to share about what this job means to you? It seems like you really enjoy it. It seems like you really have enjoyed the experience so far, and are very passionate about your work and what you do. Just anything else you'd like to kind of share with the fans?
Just that every day we're here trying to make sure that it's a fast, fun, friendly. I lose sight of the exact motto, but we're trying to make it an experience for the fans that is that of a big league ballpark, right? So you're in and out of lines. You have incredible options from a food and beverage standpoint. There might be something new at every single game, so it's worth trying out more than one. I think that's probably the worst answer I've given all day. So I don't think I have much more, honestly. I love this job 100%. The people that I work with, from the executive team to right in my office with Barbie and Noah to the 90 plus people that are on my staff, like family, and something that I take a ton of pride in.
Matt Turner, Director of Food and Beverage with the Erie SeaWolves. Thank you so much for joining us,
thank you.
taking the time. As we are wrapping up episode number 3 on Inside the Pack, we thank you so much for joining us, and we will have another episode for you next week.